Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, even more things coming to the Disneyland Resort for the 70th, a sneak peek into the Walt animatronic, a new character coming to Avengers Campus.
Bananas are invading Disneyland later this month. Fire heroes are honored. New seating was added to New Orleans Square. We talked to artist Jerrod Maruyama and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome aboard the DL Weekly podcast. Please lower your head and watch your step while boarding. If this is your first time listening, we hope you'll check out our website at DLWeekly.net. If you have more time to spend, becoming an official weekly tier at DLWeekly.net/support is an especially good value. Thanks for traveling with us today, and we hope you have a happy and memorable listen to this week's episode.
Hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of May 7th, 2025. I'm Teresa Urban.
And I'm Tag Bushman. We'd like to thank everyone who supports the show. This week, we'd like to give a special shout out to Christy M. for becoming a weekly tier, and to Mandy B., Brooklyn D., and David A. for continuing your support. If you'd like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, cool, awesome things like the book club that we just did, was it last night? Technically, when we're recording this.
Our first meeting of the book club.
Yeah, we still got two more and a bunch of other perks. Head on over to DLWeekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier.
Now let's get to the news.
Extra, extra, read all about it. DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
More and more keeps being announced for the 70th anniversary of Disneyland. A new light, sound, and projection moment will be coming to Carthay Circle and Buena Vista Street in Disney California Adventure. The moment will be set to the tune Celebrate Happy, the theme song for the anniversary.
So what was funny was I'm having the same problem right now.
Yeah.
When I'm looking for this,
you're like, where is it?
I had to search for Carthay because I was like, where is this? Because they at the beginning of their Disney Parks blog post, they said, we're going to keep updating this. And I'm like, you don't, but unlike other places that'll like highlight the changes, they don't.
Yeah.
So this one was hidden, but
I know they just redid this. And so this morning I was like going through, I'm like, yeah, we knew that, right? Yeah, we did. Like I kept second guessing myself. Like we knew this, right? And that was the only thing that I did not remember knowing before.
And I did not see the script before because I went and looked at the Mice Chat weekly posting this morning, and I saw that they mentioned that there was a projection show, and I'm like, we hadn't heard about that yet. And so that's really interesting. It just says that it's a special moment. So it's not like a full 20-minute show.
I'm curious if it's going to be like, you know, how they're doing stuff, little projection things on Small World. Like,
yeah,
they were calling those sort of like moments, but obviously it was not just a quick over and done thing. So I wonder if this is also going to be like a couple minute experience that kind of maybe happens every 30 minutes or, you know, whatever, on some sort of little schedule that it can just kind of happen upon. I'm really curious to see this because have we seen projections down Buena Vista Street before?
I haven't seen projections in DCA at all.
Well, they do the projection mapping on Carthay Circle because think of like Oogie Boogie Bash.
But I don't consider that projection mapping because it's just like things on the side.
Sure.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, it's not like what we would consider that because it's not interacting with the facade at all. Really,
there's like bugs and stuff that crawl out of places.
Okay.
And it like looks like it's got seams.
Rudimentary projection mapping, not like the stuff we've been used to seeing on Main Street. Yeah. Okay. But Buena Vista Street in general, there hasn't really been anything. So, you know, this is kind of long overdue, I think, for California Adventure. Of course, the book we're reading right now, one of the things in the Bob Weisberg book that we're reading for the book club talks about the renovations and stuff for DCA, and just thinking about the fact that they don't have a lot of the same things necessarily that Disneyland has. So why shouldn't Buena Vista Street have projection things and stuff like that? Why not? I think DCA should have more nighttime entertainment. I know they have World of Color, but we can have some more stuff. It doesn't have to just be that.
Agreed.
Well, we have some new details about the Walt Disney animatronic experience coming to the Opera House in July. Various media outlets were invited to the Imagineering Campus to see the life-size concept sculpt of the upcoming animatronic and to learn more about the show. Walt's voice in the show will be his own, with clips of his actual voice that were painstakingly assembled from different interviews that he actually did. The animatronic itself is very lifelike, or the sculpt was very lifelike. The posture, facial structure, and skin texture are uncanny, according to MiceChat. Also, I didn't write it in here, but I meant to, which there's also going to be artifacts from Walt's apartment that are going to be there. The Capitol model that has been there for a long time has gone to the archives for the time being to make room in that space for stuff. So I think this is going to be a really cool, Walt Disney animatronic aside, everything around it's also going to be really cool.
Yeah, they're doing different stuff in that space. Like Tag mentioned, they're actually I would have really liked to see them move the giant Capitol sculpture, because didn't we just learn recently, like on a
made out of like real
trip,
stone,
that it's made out of like marble or something? So it's not an easy piece to move. They also took what was kind of where they had an animation desk. It was kind of like a, I don't know, you'd like look into this alcove thing, and in that alcove, did you catch this? They recreated with items from the archives. They recreated what standing in Walt's apartment would have looked like if you were looking out at the lamp. So it's the actual, like, in all the furniture in there was stuff that Walt and Lillian would have used. It's stuff that has been at the archives that was original to the apartment that has since been removed from the apartment. But it's like the chairs that Walt and Lillian would have been sitting on. It's the lamp that would have been in the window.
Unlike the stuff that's there now, which was not original to the apartment.
Which, is the one that Walt would have been turning on. The details that they're doing on the animatronic, they were talking about, again, they didn't see the animatronic itself. It was a figure that they were kind of using as, like, concept. But they said, like Tag said, uncanny. They even have, like, age spots on the skin. The hair on it was, like, individually punctured in. Other things, too, that they were talking about were how, since Walt talked a lot with his hands, they wanted to make sure that they incorporated that, and they wanted the whole experience to feel kind of casual and intimate, and not like he was presenting kind of like how Lincoln is. Lincoln, like, is giving an address, giving a speech. So I'm trying to remain, I'm still on the fence about this, but I'm trying to remain optimistic. I am very excited for the pre-show display, though. That stuff sounds really, really cool. It's kind of like you get your own little, like, archives exhibit, because there are things from the Walt Disney Archives, and there are also things on loan from the Walt Disney Family Museum that you can see and experience here.
It's going to be really cool. Did I tell you? I don't think I told you. Eric from the Hub Crawl at the Supreme Resort and from Concierge is going to be there the days we're there. Like, he confirmed it. Like, the day we recorded the Hub Crawl, he's like, I just got word today that I've been approved to do it all.
There you go.
So he's also going to be at the Mouse Meet, too. So he's just going to be following us around.
Does he need to know what our good flight is that we got from Santa Ana to Seattle?
The reason I bring it up is I told him that we probably were going to be in line to watch this show on that birthday, and he was kind of like, So I'm not sure if he's going to wait with us, because he sounded skeptical that he was going to wait for us, maybe. But
who knows? I'm curious about. Like I said, I'm more excited about the actual space, and I'm hesitant about the show itself, just because I feel like it's a very delicate thing to be, bringing Walt kind of back to life in the form of an animatronic, and it's a very contested thing, because I feel like we're hearing different things that. Yes, the family's for it. We also are hearing no, some of the family is not for it. So it just feels very kind of, So I'm trying to remain optimistic, though. I want it to do well, but I still don't know, like, deep in my heart, if I think it's okay. Does that make sense?
Doesn't matter if we think it's okay or not. It's happening.
That's true.
I just hope it's going to be good. That's what matters.
Another character from the Marvel Universe will be dropping by Avengers Campus for a limited time. Red Guardian, who first appeared in Black Widow and is featured in the new movie Thunderbolts, will be meeting and greeting with guests. You can be sure to find him by checking the Disneyland app.
So I have heard so many great things about this movie, and I do remember watching Black Widow and seeing all these characters in it, and I thought it was interesting they brought this guy here. The character looks great, but also the actor that portrayed Red Guardian also did like a little photo shoot. David Harbour is the actor, so most people know him from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
He was the sheriff there, but he's been in a few things. So it was kind of cool that they kind of hung out and talked to each other at Avengers Campus. And again, this is just them rolling along, doing what they do, which is when a movie or something comes out from Marvel, they put a character there for a little while.
I feel like this is the first time the synergy's really working on me, because Thunderbolts wasn't really on my radar. I don't know really anything much about it, so it wasn't something that I was like highly anticipating and really like paying attention to when it was going to be in theaters, because I wanted to be there opening day sort of thing. So I don't really know much about it, but I tell you, just seeing this character and like all the little clips that Disney has done to promote the character being in Avengers Campus, I'm like, the synergy's working. I now want to see this movie because this character looks so fun. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. Probably I'll still wait until Disney Plus, but still, Thunderbolts is now on my radar just because of this character.
We are definitely going to see it because our exchange student Alex, he likes Marvel stuff, and we've heard so many good things. We're like, finally, a lot of people said like this is one of their top Marvel movies of how good it is. So I'm really excited to see it because people have talked it up so highly. Yeah. When the Marvel Cinematic Universe has had its ups and downs.
Yeah.
So it'll be good to see, and hopefully it's something. Hopefully it's an up and not a down, like people have said.
For sure.
Well, if you're going to be at Avengers Campus meeting this new character, but you want to head over to Cars Land afterwards, or vice versa, you should be aware that the path between the two by Luigi's is closed. This has been done for construction of a new restroom facility to complement the new additions to Avengers Campus currently under construction.
This makes sense because it's near where they're doing the construction for the new attractions. But it still makes me sad. And I feel like it's probably going to be quite a while until that's reopened again. But that just makes it tough, right? Because the thing that was nice was that these lands are connected in the sense that you don't have to, like, if you want to do something in Avengers Campus, you don't have to go all the way in to then go all the way back out to then go all the way into Cars Land. Because, like, if you want to do Web Slingers and then Radiator Springs Racers, let's say, like that saved you a ton of steps to go use that little path back there. And it was so well themed, and now it's just kind of a dead end.
Or you're trying to make the most of your morning and go from Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout to Radiator Springs Racers or vice versa. You don't have that option anymore.
That's true. And the thing that this is going to be tough too, because it's going to just make that main artery way in DCA just that much more full, because there really isn't anywhere else for people to go that direction. There's really just like, if you're going to the back of the park, you have to either kind of go around Grizzly River area or just straight on through. So that's going to make it tough. This does make me wonder though, because the construction right now, from what we see, and Tag and I both have been watching David from Fresh Bake's construction updates.
Not this week. I didn't watch it this week.
He's been following the construction. From what I could tell, it's all backstage right now. So now my little brain's going.
Bathroom. That's what I said. They're building a bathroom.
But like my little brain's going because they're doing that. But also look at the map. I feel like the Sanctum is, like, there's no backstage area for the Sanctum anymore. So I wonder if that means if these bathrooms are going kind of in place of where the backstage was for the Inner Sanctum, and maybe the Doctor Strange show is not coming back. I hope I'm wrong. But again, this is just me reading the tea leaves and what they're greening out and graying out on the map. And I'm a little...
It depends, because here's the back. I mean, I think that they're putting the bathrooms, like, here would be my guess.
Depends on how big the bathrooms are, because go find the Avengers Campus bathrooms, and, like, how big is that building right there? So it depends. I don't know. It makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, it depends. Is this a break room? This is like a break room, I think.
Could be.
Because there's, like, some... Anyway.
That's where Doctor Strange hangs out when he's not fighting Dormammu.
Classic Tag. satellite view on Google.
Yeah.
Looking at this.
You know, what's even more dangerous is that you can, like, measure things to then try and figure out, well, this... I was doing this for trying to figure out the Coco ride. I'm like, well, this show building over in Disneyland is about this big, so would that fit over here? Like, you could really go down the rabbit hole of trying to read the tea leaves and try and see if you can figure out what it is they're doing.
It also depends on how big you want the bathrooms to be. Like, I'm trying to think, like, let me go find another... Is there another place that has, like, a... I'm trying to think of, like, another place that has kind of, like...
a little standalone little bathroom.
Yeah.
Because everything I can think of is, like, attached to other stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So it's hard to know
Yeah,
how much...
well, because the only thing would be, like, but those are really small, the New Orleans Square bathrooms.
I don't know.
I don't know
Time
either.
will tell. Time will tell. We'll keep thinking positively. Well, May the 4th was this past weekend, and the Disney Parks blog shared a recipe from a galaxy far, far away. The Felucian falafel and hummus garden spread from Docking Bay 7 may take some planning, with one step taking from 12 to 18 hours, but it's sure to be a tasty treat. I know we enjoy it at the parks.
Yeah, I looked at this and I was like, oh, this would be kind of fun. And then I started scrolling and I'm like, okay, so we got the list of ingredients, which is, fairly large. And then we have the roasted beet ingredients and the hummus garden spread ingredients and the garlic toum sauce ingredients and then the tomato cucumber relish ingredients and then putting it all together. And one of the things was for the garbanzo beans, you're supposed to combine dried garbanzo beans in water in a large bowl and cover and refrigerate for 12 to 18 hours.
Now you could
probably get canned garbanzo beans.
You could speed that up and use a canned bean instead of using the dry. But yeah, if you want to do it how the instructions tell you, though.
There's because they have soaked and canned. So is that part of the... Do they want canned and regular? Dried and canned. So
interesting.
Interesting.
One of these days, I do think I want to try doing this at home. It'll definitely be like,
a whole day of never.
A day. So doesn't that just make you appreciate the convenience of ordering this at Docking Bay 7? Because this is something that we've gotten multiple times, to know that it's this much of a obviously it's not taking that long for each dish, but still the fact that a theme park food has that big of an ingredient list and that much of a process is kind of wild.
Yeah, I've been kind of I've been down a rabbit hole on YouTube of food YouTube.
Oh.
And so I've been watching a lot of like behind the scenes of like fancy like Michelin star restaurants and like how they do how they run their kitchens, because that fascinates me. And I was like, oh, there's actually a bunch of videos online about this and they're pretty well done. Bon Appetit, the magazine, does some of them actually. And so watching all of the stuff that goes into making even what seems like simple dishes at certain places, I am like, my goodness, I appreciate this so much. Like there was a guy making pizza dough, and the process to make this pizza dough took like hours. Yeah. And I'm just like, I just order a pizza and it's here in like 30 minutes.
It is, I mean, there is easier ways to do these, to do things. Like, for example, you're making the falafel from scratch. You can buy pre-made falafels and stuff, but
is it going to taste the same?
I don't think it may or may not, because this is quite the list of ingredients. So I'm sure it's unique, but yeah, just wild.
Well, this next story, Teresa and I had to be schooled to talk about. Later this month, a fun team will be visiting the parks. The Savannah Bananas, a baseball team similar to the Harlem Globetrotters, will be at Disneyland on May 28th, 2025. Special entertainment moments and themed food and beverages will be on hand to celebrate. Tell people who may not know the Savannah Bananas. I feel like you went on a little...
Yeah, so if you are like Tag and myself and did not know who the Savannah Bananas were until suddenly they're doing a collab with Disneyland, it looks like so much fun. So basically, they play what's called Banana Ball, and I think that's what they call it, Banana Ball, and it's baseball, but it's limited to like a 2-hour game, and it doesn't really matter who wins or loses the game. It's all about like entertainment and fun and like antics on the field. So like the bananas are wearing these like bright yellow baseball
You
uniforms.
can almost say banana yellow.
Banana yellow. They have one of their people plays on stilts. I saw that there's someone that looks kind of like they're a rodeo clown, so they've got like one of those barrels that they're like running around and like jumping around. They're doing backflips while they're catching balls in the outfield. Like, it looks just wild. And so this banana ball stuff has like taken the internet by like surprise and has been super, super popular. And so, yeah, now they're going to be in Disneyland May 28th. We just happen to be going to the parks, and we'll be in the parks for part of May 28th. That's the day that we come into to Southern California. So we may get to see some of the crazy fun. Like, I think the cavalcade could be fun, depending on what Disney allows them to do. If they can, like, do some of their crazy fun stuff down Main Street, or if it's going to be limited to just, like, them standing on the float and going down, or there's like a dance party like you mentioned. I bet the dance party would probably be pretty fun. It's just it's like if you didn't take baseball seriously but you were still playing baseball. Does that make sense?
I just saw this guy spin around in the air and catch a ball. Like, what?
These people are like, probably, I don't want to like offend anybody, but the level of athleticism here is crazy, because not only are they doing like sports, they're doing sports uniquely with like sports / gymnastics / whatever. And like
the umpire,
they're all like, I mean, they're just entertainers and like hilarious. Like that guy, he's got a hockey stick. Like the pitcher, do you see that? He had a hockey stick. Look,
backflip to catch it.
Backflip to catch. I mean, the level of talent is crazy.
And the stilt
There's the stilt person
is, and the, oh my goodness.
Wow,
are they going to run?
That the person in the stilts could actually get it.
Are they going to run? I want to see the person with the stilts running.
There you go.
Oh,
there you
yep.
Go. It's crazy. It's so crazy, so fun. I looked, because they're also going to be playing in Anaheim like the 2 days after they have Savannah Banana Day. And so I looked, so I'm like, maybe we need to go see this. I think it's already sold out. But they do have a game.
There's a Chicago game, but I
game.
think that I'm out of the country.
But yeah, anyways, they're playing in Anaheim May 30th and May 31st. So the thing, they're saying there's specialty treats. Yeah. I feel like we've seen these treats already show up on... Well, hey, that explains... Oh, no, pineapple was the thing that you're like, see, pineapple's the new thing.
It is pineapple.
But, like, the banoffee pie cold brew is on the list. There's a banana pudding at Hungry Bear Jamboree, banana split, of course, at Gibson Girl, and then the banana split churro at Goofy's Sky School. So I think they're just... I don't know if these are special just for the day, but I think they're just highlighting the various banana-themed treats that are already at the resort. But, yeah, very fun. Well, on Monday, May 5th, there was a Hero Salute cavalcade to honor the first responders of the fires back in January. The Heroes ticket also kicked off to coincide with the cavalcade.
Yeah, so I don't know. We're recording this a day earlier than we normally do, so we don't have anything, footage or anything from it right now. But what a great kind of way to honor these folks that gave so much of their time and energy and everything
and
to
risked their lives.
The wildfires in LA back in January.
This, I think this is really cool. Again, the thing that's the most neat is that Disneyland is saying thank you and kind of giving back. And we had reported on the Heroes ticket before, but basically they were gifting tickets to folks, first responders that were, helped with the fires. And yeah, what a cool thing. This is usually, I think it's really special. I know we just talked about the Savannah Bananas getting their own cavalcade, but it's not too often. Like, I'm trying to think of when they highlight people in cavalcades. It's like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, it's either like sports teams or it's maybe people that are, important to Disney. So like Imagineers and stuff like that. This is really, really special and cool that it's, they're doing all this for first responders. And the thing that's really neat too is we're watching right now, Laughing Place had a video, and
I'll put a link in the show notes.
It like everybody on the sides are, they're waving, they're clapping for these people, and it just really, really heartwarming to see.
Yeah, and they had characters out too. They had a bunch of the Main Street actually, it looks like all the Main Street vehicles had either heroes. Oh yeah, people. They actually have names of the people from the fire and police departments. Of course, they have, like we said, characters out. Yeah, this is kind of all the Main Street vehicles because they had the omnibuses coming up here. This is cool.
Wow. Oh, and that's for the families, Heroes of the LA Fire families.
Yeah.
Very, very neat.
Yeah.
Very special.
So there's a link in the show notes if you wanted to see what this looked like. Laughing Place was able to throw up a video just a couple hours before we recorded this. So how awesome. Well, a rather abrupt change has come to New Orleans Square. The Port Royal Curios and Curiosities shop right next to the Royal Street Veranda has been changed into a seating area for diners. Since the shop duplicated the merchandise, which can be found at Madame Leota's Somewhere Beyond shop, the old location was not needed. The decor was not updated much except to turn it into a jazzy-looking speakeasy. Tables and chairs are scattered around for guests to get out of the heat and find a place to eat.
Okay. I have one qualm with how you wrote that.
Okay.
No one's going to say it wasn't needed. This was such a cool themed shop. I get that Madame Leota's kind of came in and kind of filled what Port Royal Curios and Curiosities had, but I just loved this shop so much. I get it, but it also makes me a little sad because it's not as I don't know. It feels like it's the same space, but it looks and feels quite different, doesn't it?
It does.
I know they didn't pull anything out of this. This was a really quick refresh and re-theme. I want to say it was some folks were reporting that this change happened overnight, sort of thing.
I can see that.
But looking at this, I don't remember that the floor was brown and kind of like a bluish.
Well, there was so much stuff in there, and I think it was so dark.
Well,
earlier.
and the light. So it's amazing how different this looks.
Let's see if I can find a photo from before.
But it's wild how different it looks when really it's not that different. It's how things like lighting and just decor overall make such a difference. So this does make me sad. This was one of my favorite little places. I thought it had a lot of charm, being so kind of packed full of stuff. There were so many good little decor items and theming that they had above all of the different display boards and cases and all that. They
definitely had the same floor.
Yeah, they had stuff hanging from the ceilings that kind of give it a creepier, eerier, spookier vibe. So this makes me sad. I understand, but it still makes me sad.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was looking at, well, this is the new one. I was trying to figure out behind the register, because that area looks like a bar now. And I was trying to remember what was kind of behind there. And I was with you that I didn't remember the flooring in there, but there's tons of pictures, and that's the flooring.
Oh, yeah. There's no way they redid that flooring.
Yeah.
But I just don't remember that.
They did redo, they put this padding stuff where I think there was pegboard and stuff. So they definitely did some things. Yeah, do you think this is going to stay? Or do you think this is going to change over to something else?
I don't know. Part of me almost wonders if I could have seen them. I understand moving the Haunted Mansion and Nightmare Before Christmas merch out of here because there is an entire separate dedicated shop now at the exit of the Haunted Mansion. That makes sense. But I'm kind of surprised that this didn't get turned into more Pirates themed merch.
Yeah.
Because the Pieces of 8 is really not that big. Yeah, so I very easily could have seen that kind of being able to be spread out more. So I'm a little surprised that that's not what happened. I don't think that's the long-term plan here, because otherwise why would they have turned it into a seating area temporarily? But it is interesting because the outside still has Port Royal Curios and Curiosities painted above the doors, the archways, which I guess if you didn't know that was the name of a shop, you wouldn't necessarily know that that's the name of a shop. So yeah, I'm just really curious what the long-term plan is here. There's been a rumor, which we had reported on, that maybe they'd be looking at extending the Pirates of the Caribbean queue and using that space. MiceChat thinks that maybe that still might be a thing eventually and that this is just temporary.
Yeah.
But I will say, with what they've been doing menu-wise at Royal Street Veranda, that has become a very,
They changed it. It says Jazz Club now.
Oh, they did change it. But what they've been doing next door, there is no seating in front of
Royal Street Veranda.
So, and really, there's I don't know, handful of chairs and tables. So this makes a lot of sense. And really, I don't see any photos of this, but I could see them taking the chairs and tables that are in front of there out completely, because that would help with flow with getting to and from the windows.
Yeah. I think when I was reading some of the comments today online, I think I'm with some people saying that, like, we thought that it was temporary a little bit when they moved all that stuff in where Bengal Barbecue is, because they didn't really do a big change there either. They kind of just took the merch out.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be like that. I think I think that down the road they'll do something. It just seems like one of those places that, like, I guess I grew up in a time in the 90s where they had different leadership that, like, every square foot had to make money, and so all of these shops were really important. And so I find it interesting that we've kind of now we've taken up so many places that used to be shops. So the stroller parking at Adventureland, the Bengal barbecue seating for Adventureland, this now, like, all these little places that used to be, like, making money selling merch are now just places to people to sit.
That's true.
But I also think, like, it's Disneyland. Like, you only have so much space, and if you need more space for people, you got to put them somewhere.
Yep, then you need more
space. So kind of along the lines of the Project Stardust, was that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the Emporium on Main Street, there are a set of windows that are decorated with animated scenes from Disney classics. Some of you may know these as, I think we just call them the animated windows. They're very fun, but some of them have been in rough shape in recent times. They are currently being refurbished for the 70th. No word on when they will be completed, but work is underway.
Yeah. You know, they have these great little, like, curtains that they've corded
like
them off with,
curtains.
which I think looks really great. It seemed like there for a while when this was being reported on previously that when they weren't working, they were just kind of left there not working. And I'm like, this would have been so much better.
And with, like, the lights were just turned off. I'd almost would rather when they had them stationary to a point in the scene with the lights on, and they just, instead of, being magic and transforming, they just, were kind of frozen, which that's not great, but it's better than broken with no lights on them.
Yeah.
This is interesting to me, though. I'm really wondering if there may be swapping some of these out, because it wasn't that long ago I felt like MiceChat had reported that these had been refreshed and were working more or less again. So I'm wondering, are they maybe going to swap scenes out, or are we just giving them the TLC that they so needed and deserved?
Sure.
I could see it both ways.
Yeah. I'm just glad that they're doing something with it, because I do think they're, like, a magical part of Main Street for sure.
Yoo-hoo! Hello, everybody! It's me, Heimlich. My stomach is so empty. Hey, help me to go find something to eat. Come on, everybody. Here we go.
Well, this week for SnackChat, we have a foodie guide. And it is the 70th celebration foodie guide. So there is a lot of things on here. I did make a small list. There are 2 things of my 6 things on the list that are, there are 2 things on the list that are not food, but they are souvenirs. The other 4 are food. So what do you have on this list of food?
Well,
are we just going to go through it?
I was going to go through it quickly, and then we could highlight. Okay, because
there is a lot on
here.
I
know, but people need to know, because this foodie guide, folks, is a foodie guide of foodie guides, because somehow, I feel like we say this every time a foodie guide comes out, but there are so many really delicious looking items on here. I was not expecting this foodie guide to be this extensive.
Sure. Because
of all of the other menu updates that they've been giving us the past week or so. So I was expecting this not to be huge. But to start, and, like, if you look, there's so many little things that say new next to it, new. Alien Pizza Planet. We've got barbecue chicken and pineapple pizza, as well as a 70th celebration macaroon, because of course it's our cute little alien green man. He's got a little party hat on. This one is filled with birthday cake buttercream and confetti cake center, finished with a little, like I said, cute birthday hat.
Over at Bengal Barbecue, we have the grilled Tahitian ribs, which you can get with rice and pineapple slaw. There's that pineapple again.
There it is, the pineapple.
And then over at the Blue Bayou, where you should have reservations, of course, there's a ribeye steak and prawns that it comes with Western butter, a loaded baked potato, and asparagus.
There's also a vegetable heart salad, chocolate chip mousse, a blueberry cocktail complete with popping spheres, as well as a Karl Strauss Brewing Company 70th Anniversary IPA.
Out in Cafe Daisy, this is one of the things that is on my list.
All of the things.
A chicken bacon ranch flop over. So it's kind of like the floppers that they've had, but they're chicken bacon ranch. There's the Miss Daisy, which is a Minute Maid light lemonade with blue cotton candy syrup topped with blue raspberry gummy rings. Non-alcoholic.
And they've updated the specialty cold brew. It is Joffrey's cold brew and vanilla cream syrup topped with whipped cream, chocolate medallions, and confetti sprinkles. Yes, we're going to get
all of the things.
One of each. We're getting one of each from
I don't know.
Cafe
You might have to get
Daisy.
your own chicken bacon ranch flop over.
I think I might just, I don't know. Chicken
Maybe just
bacon
want a bite.
ranch is like a hit or miss thing. Like either sometimes I think they're great and other times they're kind of like,
This is actually kind of not normal for me. I didn't have this on my list just to be aware, but
We're
I'm looking at the
adding to your
picture.
list as we're going?
I would eat this. Let's say that.
Okay.
So at Carnation Cafe, they have the beef. They have a beef stroganoff, which looks kind of good. It's got like bacon and beef and mushroom, and it looks good. And a tropical rum cocktail, which is a Bacardi Superior Rum, Myers Rum, Original Dark, pineapple, orange, and lime juices, and grenadine. And they also have the Karl Strauss Brewing Company 7th Anniversary IPA.
We have a 70th celebration churro, which you can find at 3 locations. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Haunted Mansion, and Town Square churro carts will all have this very colorful, fun dessert. Oh, it's rolled in ube sugar and topped with marbled blue raspberry icing. That's why it's fun and purple. Galactic Grill has Space Place cottage fries. I was kind of surprised this didn't make it to your list because they're tossed in Parmesan butter and parsley and served with
It looks
house-made
good.
ranch.
Yeah, I went through this fairly quick, but
If it would have been Parmesan butter and garlic,
yeah,
it would have for sure been on the list.
Over at Gibson Girl, we have the banana split, which we kind of mentioned earlier, but is also on this list. So typical banana split there. And at the Golden Horseshoe, there's the cowboy fries, which are fries, nacho cheese, sautéed ground beef, burger sauce, and butter pickles.
Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree has some peach cobbler funnel cake fries that are new, as well as a honey cold brew, which is honey sweetened cold brew with cream topper, honey drizzle, and those fun little honeycomb cereal pieces on top.
This is one of those ones that I'm expecting to taste of yours and then get my own. At the Jolly Holiday Bakery Cafe, they have the Celebration Matterhorn Macaroon, which is a coconut macaroon dipped in white chocolate and sprinkles. They have the 70th Celebration Macaron, which has made my list. It's a vanilla bean buttercream. It looks like a slice of cake. It's vanilla bean buttercream, strawberry jam, and fresh strawberry with strawberry whipped topping and a strawberry crunch.
And then we also have a Mickey hat cookie. It's a cookie dipped in chocolate with a chocolate decoration. Not the most exciting sounding description, but there it is. It's cute. It looks like the old Mickey Mouse Clubhouse hat.
It does.
Like ear hats. This is happening. 70th celebration cake at the Plaza Inn. It's layers of pound cake, cherry compote, confetti cake, vanilla bean white chocolate mousse, and lemon curd pastry cream covered with a white chocolate ganache buttercream.
Okay, so this next one, see, lemon is my problem. Lemon is my problem with this one, too. At the Pretzels near Star Tours, they have a lemon chiffon pretzel. This looks amazing.
I didn't even realize it was a pretzel at first.
Right? It looked like a donut from the shot. A cream cheese-filled pretzel dipped in lemon-flavored icing topped with crushed vanilla wafers. See, everything about that except for the lemon. Maybe you'll have to get it, and I'll have to take it, and then I'll be like, okay, maybe it's not too bad.
Rancho del Zocalo restaurant has a fried tamale walking taco. That's on my list, as well as a mocha cream puff. Yum.
Those cream puffs I'm always a sucker for. At Red Rose Tavern, there's Hook's Galley tuna melt and a 70th stuff, which is a shortbread cookie with cookies and cream cake, fresh raspberry and raspberry jam surrounded with white chocolate mousse and topped in colored sprinkles, and a sparkling peach punch.
Which is also
Sprite
on my
and
list.
peach syrup with a sort of popping spheres. It has popping spheres. That could be really good.
All of these drinks, all of them.
Yeah.
They have all made my list. There's not a single drink that I'm like, Refreshment corner, we have pulled pork mac and cheese in a bread bowl, as well as, you guessed it, another drink. It's called Fun Punch. Fanta orange, pineapple, orange, and lime juices mixed with grenadine.
At the River Barrel Terrace, they have strawberry pancakes, blueberry pancakes, and apple pancake rolls.
I'm really excited about this
All those are
next
only
one.
breakfast, by the way.
at Tiana's Palace, there's a new house-filled celebration beignet that we are trying.
It is on my list.
Filled with raspberry mousse, buttercream glaze, and there's an edible candle along with sprinkles on
This
top.
is on my list, as is the next one, which is at the Tropical Hideaway. It's the Pineapple Upside Down Sundae. So it has a Dole Whip pineapple, caramel drizzle, and pineapple upside down cake topped with a maraschino cherry.
Troubadour Tavern is like going all out. I very much appreciate the first one. It's the Wed chili cheese baked potato. This is crazy. So we've been talking about like that they've been doing some funky things with potatoes. This potato comes with a hunk of cornbread shoved in it too. It's topped with beef and bean chili, cheese, sour cream, diced onions, and again a hunk of cornbread.
That's hilarious.
Yes. The next one is a chicken pot pie baked potato. There's also Dancing Shimmering Lights, which is another fun drink. Sweet berry lemonade with blackberry topper and colorful sanding sugar. And there's also a tiramisu cold brew, which is definitely on the list. Dark chocolate cold brew with tiramisu topper and a ladyfinger cookie.
Hopping over to Disney California Adventure at the churro cart near Goofy Sky School, there's the banana split churro.
Look at that.
By Corn Dog Castle, there's the chili cheese corn dog.
Hollywood Lounge has a celebration cocktail as well as a pink dragon fruit mimosa.
I like that glass.
I didn't even notice the glass before.
At other outdoor vending locations, there's a cotton candy mango chili, which is an orange mango chili cotton candy in a celebration bag, and a pink dragon fruit mimosa.
Look at that. So you can get, and it's served in a Disneyland 70th celebration acrylic flute.
I kind of want that now just for the flute.
I mean, I think it sounds, if you don't like it, I would drink it.
And then can I have the glass?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We'll make a deal. Over at Schmoozies, there's some Mickey-shaped celebration waffles. Ooh, with strawberry cream filling and topped with sprinkles and, of course, powdered sugar.
At Willie's Churros, there's a 70th celebration churro, which same thing at Disneyland. And then that Carl Strauss Brewing Company IPA is at the Carthay Circle Restaurant, Lamplight Lounge, Paradise Garden Grill, Port of San Francisco Cerveceria, Wine Country Trattoria, and select outdoor vending locations. And now we're past the food and on to the fun stuff.
On to the novelties. So there are 70th anniversary buckets, sippers, and more, of course. These are available at select popcorn carts throughout the park. This is the Disneyland 70th Celebration Light Up Mickey Balloon bucket. So it is kind of like a light blue. We've got Mickey in his celebration outfit next to the 70th logo. Looks like Donald and Pluto also made an appearance on the ears there. This is located at popcorn carts throughout the park in Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. It's also available at the Disneyland Hotel at the Coffee House and at Disney Grand Californian's Hotel and Spa, the Grand Californian Great Hall cart.
Now this next one is kind of cute. I don't need it, so I'm not going to get it, but like I was tempted when I saw it. It's the Disneyland 70th Celebration Mickey Mouse bucket. So this looks like Mickey Mouse with a kind of like a larger oversized head, obviously to put your popcorn in. And he's in his normal like tuxedo outfit, is red and black and yellow and white. You can get this at a bunch of different places at Disneyland Park and California Adventure. Also at the Craftsman Grill at the Grand Californian and the Great Hall Cart and the Coffee House at Disneyland Hotel. By the way, this will be linked in the show notes, so you can go see all this stuff and get all the locations.
This next one is
on my list.
So cool.
On my list.
The Disneyland 70th Celebration Abominable Snowman Sipper. Not the adorable snowman. We're talking about Harold from the Matterhorn. And this is available at multiple locations, again, like Tag mentioned. The link will, of course, be in the show notes. But they are killing it. They're killing it with the Sipper games.
An empty bag, aren't I?
I told you that our tickets, like we can check a bag, no additional cost with our tickets. So,
all right.
Saying.
And we have rental cars, so it's easy to get stuff around too. All right, the next one's a Disneyland 70th Celebration popcorn bucket. This is like one of those plain popcorn buckets with a design on it,
like the like traditional what a popcorn bucket should look like. Popcorn bucket,
like an actual one that you could put popcorn in.
One that exactly. There's also a Disneyland 70th Celebration sipper. Same thing. It's got like a strap. Straw. It's got Mickey big in his little celebration gear with it looks like a couple other friends in their celebration attire as well. all over both of the parks. You can pick that up.
Yeah. And then
This one's cool.
The Disneyland 70th Celebration stainless steel tumbler. This has got like a lanyard that clips around the top so you can kind of carry it along with you, but is also just a stainless steel tumbler with a map of the park and kind of some stylized stuff from like back in the day. It looks almost concept arty in a way. That's available kind of everywhere.
This next one, super, super cool. Celebration Disneyland Marquee Bottle Topper. So it's a straw topper, but it's so good. It is the classic Disneyland sign with the flags, the castles behind it. The castle's even like 3D, so this isn't just like a flat bottle topper, straw topper. It looks so, so good. Did that one make it to your list?
Nope.
Really? Oh,
Nope.
I thought for sure that would be on the list.
The Disneyland 70th Celebration acrylic flute.
That made it to your list today.
What?
That's what was the mimosas were.
Oh, that's what
gonna
that
be
is.
in.
Okay. That's available a lot of places.
We have a 70th Celebration Tinkerbell straw clip, which is adorable.
This one's on my list, though.
That
The
for sure,
Disneyland
yeah.
70th Celebration D glow cube. So it's the Disneyland D, and it glows.
That's like,
It's like the two favorite things about
I was
Disneyland.
going to say two worlds collided for
Yeah.
you there. We have yet another Celebration travel tumbler for the Disneyland
one's plastic, it
70th.
looks like.
Yeah, this one, you're right. This one looks like it's plastic. Again, that kind of fun, bright blue has all of the characters in their attire on there. Oh, there's little like park icons around this one as well.
Yeah.
I see like the pal around, of course, the Sleeping Beauty Castle. That looks like it's a fun
Small
little
World.
characterized version of Small World. Very, very cute. Okay, this one's the one that makes me sad.
Okay.
This one I really, really want, but I don't want to go through
because-
the experience to get it. It is the Disneyland 70th Celebration Tomorrowland Skyline Terrace Cup, but it is only available at the Tomorrowland Skyline Terrace, which is only available for, it's like a fireworks viewing
Dining package.
dining package.
So I think what you got to do, and I don't know what
Make
the possibility
friends.
is one person in your group has to go do this, and then buy like 7 of them or something.
I don't know how it works. Well, I'm assuming you probably get it with your dining package.
So you can't just buy multiples of them.
But it looks. Do you remember they had that one for the Matterhorn that you got a Dole
Yeah,
Whip in?
it's the same-
It looks like that, and that's what's making me really want to get it because now I feel like there's like almost like a collection that I could have.
Because you need another collection
Yep.
of things.
When it comes to old school looking Disneyland stuff, and especially when it's like Tomorrowland, look, the people movers on it.
I
dang.
know. I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm
I know,
just
it's
saying.
so good.
And then there's a bunch of stuff that we don't need to go through. That's at the
Hotels
hotel
are getting in on the
menus.
celebration.
Yeah.
All sorts of fun themed drinks and treats. Look at this. This is fun. This cake pop that looks like a Mickey balloon. Anyways,
There's a lot of
tons and
stuff.
tons and tons and tons of stuff.
There is one thing, this Celebration Macaron Pop at Kayla's Cakes.
Oh,
It's a French strawberry chocolate chip buttercream with a gooey marshmallow center. I'm not a big marshmallow person, but
there you go.
churro bites. They have a lot of stuff. They're knocking it out of the park. Good thing
Literally,
good
though,
thing the celebration's a
Was
long
there
time.
anything on that list that you like would not try?
I mean, there's a bunch of stuff I wouldn't. I'm not a big ribs fan, so yeah, the ribs I wouldn't try. But like,
okay.
yeah, most stuff on there sounded good. Like, there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with any of the stuff on there.
Well, mark your calendars, weekly tier. Our next meetup will be on June 1st. Please join us at the fireplace near the Tongaroa Terrace over at the Disneyland Hotel. We're going to be hanging out there from 3 until 5 p.m. Meeting you is one of our most favorite parts of our trip, so we would love it if you stop by to say hello.
Your attention, please. DL Weekly Trivia is now leaving for a Grand Circle tour of the Magic Kingdom, with stops at New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toontown, and Tomorrowland. All weekly tiers for...
Welcome to Trivia Land, where we have some wonderful listener-submitted questions all set up for you. Are you ready for it?
Always. We're always ready.
All
We have all
right.
the answers,
I
don't
think
we,
I've
Teresa?
learned like the last week or two to just don't second guess. Just go with the first.
Just go with it.
Because I definitely talked myself out of one for sure last week.
Well, for an extra challenge, tonight we are going bi-coastal.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, we are DL Weekly. Not.
Well, sometimes
Maybe
the
it's like the
listeners...
differences between the two.
Maybe.
Sometimes the listeners want us to go to the other side of the country, and who am I to let the listeners down?
Do you know what they want, Vern? They want DCL Weekly with Teresa.
Oh, maybe.
DCL Weekly.
Well, let's see what they brought you tonight. Your first listener-submitted question from listener Daniel C. After sustaining an injury playing his favorite sport, Walt's doctor suggested he take up a hobby, which was the impetus for Walt's construction of a miniature railroad in his backyard. What was the sport that injured him?
Polo.
Yeah, polo.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
Final.
All right.
And you didn't mention it, which means I feel like it's a follow-up question. The follow-up question might be, what's it called? And it's the Carrollwood Pacific Railroad, right?
Oh.
All right, so both of you instantly
Polo.
saying polo.
Polo.
All right.
Marco.
Your second listener-submitted question from listener Michael N. According to the statue in front of the Radiator Springs Fire Department, what year was Radiator Springs founded, and who founded it?
Stanley.
Stanley founded it. I still haven't watched Cars.
I don't know when Stanley. I'm going to say 1901.
Ooh, that's good.
I don't know if that's real.
For some reason, like 1916 is what came to mind. So I'm just going to say 1916, even though I should probably go with you on 1901.
What were you just saying about talking yourselves out of answers?
So 1901.
1901. So you're
That's
drafting
obviously
off
what I
of-
meant. I don't know how foolish I could have been.
You're drafting off of Her Racer and going with
Yeah,
1901.
something like that.
All right. I mean,
You
I
going
wasn't
with Stanley,
necessarily
too?
telling you
Yeah,
who
Stanley.
was right. I was just...
You may have just talked yourself out of the right answer.
Maybe.
All right. So 1901 and Stanley. That's...
Vern has some pity for us over here.
All right. Now let's take it across the country. And we're going to ask from listener #ResurrectTagsPeopleMover.
Love it.
That's why we had to go to the other coast.
that was an inspiration for me choosing this one, not going to lie. Listeners, when you submit questions, if you have catchy names, it will move you to the top of the list,
Oh my
at least when
goodness.
I'm choosing.
We
Oh,
will
goodness.
move you to the
They
top.
catch my eye, I'm not going to lie. I'm a poet and I don't know it.
Oh, boy. Stick to the trivia.
Wow.
On the Moana-inspired experience in World Nature, Journey of Water, roughly how many flowers cover Te Fiti?
Oh.
A lot. Does that count as an answer? A lot?
And I looking through this, or in checking on this, I found a couple sources that gave me conflicting numbers.
Oh, even
so
better.
I will accept two different answers.
163.
Oh, you're going to have to raise that number up.
1918 or 16 or whatever. it is.
1916. Okay, so more than 163, he said. Okay, now here's a question. Because Te Fiti is covered in, like, greens and some, she's not all flowers. Or are we counting the green?
Let's count all flora as a flower.
Oh,
Okay.
Lord.
Okay. Then, yeah, because see, that's what I'm saying. There's not, like, tons and tons. 116,300. My original answer was 160.
16,301.
Okay, what's your real answer?
You've seen this in person, haven't you? How big is it?
Pretty big.
15 feet tall.
12,000.
All right, Tag saying 12,000, and Teresa, you said
16,300.
16,300.
Yep.
And that's an increase from your original 167?
163. We just added a couple zeros.
163. Okay. All right. Final answers.
Yeah.
As good as we're going to get.
Okay. And your fourth and final regular round question from listener Rob S. Staying in Disney World, how many animals are carved into the Tree of Life at Animal Kingdom?
A lot.
Is it like... When did it open? 1997?
That
Do you
feels
think
right.
there's that many then? 1990?
Well, I feel like they like to
1997?
make things... I don't know. That seems like a lot.
I feel like there's over 1,000. I'm going to say 1,400.
I'm going to go 1997. Why not?
Okay.
Vern's like, and now you guys have gone way
Why
too
not?
much. What was your
Why
first answer?
not?
163?
Yeah, for the flowers, yeah.
So, Tag, you're using the date as the number of animals?
Yeah,
And Teresa, you said how many?
1,400.
1,400. Okay.
It was opened on Earth Day. I like that fun fact.
Can I just say that Vern's face was like, oh Lord, that's a lot.
Final answers.
Sure, it shouldn't be, but it is.
Alrighty then.
Maybe it's that. Was Earth Day on the same day every year?
Yeah,
Is it?
I'm changing. 422.
422.
422.
I'm gonna strap myself to your tree and go there.
Well, no, look, we would have had the whole opening date because it opened on
Oh,
Earth
yeah,
Day.
no, yeah, but it's probably not any of those
I
things.
don't. It probably has nothing to do with any of
So,
what we're going
Tag,
with.
you're going with the 422
Yeah,
as well?
yeah.
And when you said strap yourself to the tree, was that an
Oh,
Earth Day
no.
reference of tree huggers? And
Sure, if that's how you want to take it.
all right, let's go with that. And a bonus question tonight from
We gonna
listener
need it.
Donna S.
Yeah.
Who developed the animatronic dog in Carousel of Progress?
Who developed the animatronic dog?
I thought the bonus question was supposed to save us.
Sometimes. Sometimes
Walt
it's
Disney.
just a fun little bonus. And this is not necessarily came up with the idea of, hey, would it be cool to put a dog here? But it's actually put the animatronics in the dog.
I'm
So
gonna
it's an
say
Imagineer of some sort.
Bob Gurr.
Ooh, Bob Gurr might be a good one. Who do we know has done like good animatronic stuff?
All I can think in my head when I'm thinking of Carousel of Progress is the man in the apparatus that they're like
Yeah.
doing the movements for the father.
Yeah. Do we know who that is?
No. I'm sure I do, but I don't. Bob Gurr's talked about working on Lincoln. So that's what I'm thinking maybe.
Mark Davis only did sketches, right?
I don't know. It's hard to say because they did a little bit of everything.
I'm going to say Mark Davis, even though I'm probably wrong.
Mark Davis.
All right, so we're separating on answers here. We got a
There's
Mark
a first
Davis.
time for everything.
We've got a Mark Davis and a Bob Gurr.
Yep, our dogs are barking at each other on that one.
All right. Well, listeners, how do you think they did? How did you do listening at home? Stick around until after the discussion and we can all find out the answers together.
Well, this week for our discussion topic, we are bringing on another artistic person because we love people that do any type of art for Disney or about Disney or in the Disney universe. This time, we're talking with freelance artist Jerrod Maruyama. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We are super excited to have you come on. You probably can't see in the background. I do have one of your pieces right there in the middle. And that was Pride Night last year.
Oh, nice.
We were doing a signing for that. So that was pretty fun. But
Teresa was very, very
was
excited to go
excited.
see you and get
And
that
Ryan.
on Pride Night
Yep.
for sure. Yep.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you
Of
coming
course.
on. So happy they did those events. So always
Mhm.
happy to support it when they do.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about your Disney story? So this is just, how you love the company, the brand itself. How'd you get interested in that?
Yeah, for me, it really was animation, which I think is for most people. The initial introduction is through animation, but that's really where my passion lies. Second is probably parks, of course. But yeah, the main drive for me has always been animation. Little Mermaid came out when I was a senior in high school, and that really determined that I would go into art as a career. Disney, I think it's something that everybody has in their life growing up, for sure. But that Mermaid period was such a renaissance and such a reawakening of animation that it was it's a very exciting time to be a Disney fan. Everybody was going into animation at that point. Animation was just taking off across the board. So industry-wide, personally too, it was just it's an exciting time to be a fan of animation. So that's for me where it started, where it was passionate. I remember right after seeing The Little Mermaid, had to go to McDonald's to get the Happy Meal toys. And then, collecting is such a big part of Disney stuff too. And that really kicked it off for me as far as the merchandise and just being a huge super fan of Disney animation.
It's funny that you mentioned the Happy Meal toys. We were just at my parents' house going through a box of like our old stuff, and we came across it was the Snow White set that they had done. And I just like looking at those now, I'm like, these toys were amazing quality compared to what they're not so, they're okay now. But like what they used to be, I'm like, these were so good. I mean, obviously we loved them because they were Disney, but they were really great toys too.
Oh, yeah. And they did such elaborate things for a while there and tie-ins with the parks and everything, which was great. But yeah, I think there was another renaissance with that as well then, because we don't see it anymore as much.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah. I will, we were one of those crazy people during COVID, the pandemic, that they had was it the 50th? Was it for Disney World's 50th? Or no, Disney 100, wasn't it?
Nope, the 50th.
It was the 50th. Okay. They had like the whole set of toys that would like link together. And I remember that they didn't hang around as long as they thought they were going to hang around. And I remember going and getting Happy Meals. Teresa and I both being in the car, getting Happy Meals, trying to collect all these things and doing trades with people in our community because like, oh, we got a third version of this. Yep. Somebody else got a third version of something. So,
that's hilarious. I know it's very hard. It's kind of the fun of it too. You end up eating a lot of fast food, which is not always great. I like it. Like sometimes they'll let you just buy the toy. They won't always do that, but I prefer when they do. But then, you're an adult. You feel so bad being like, do you have another one? You still have, you had this last week. Did you get the new one? And being a fuss bucket about that kind of stuff. But it's all part of the fun of collecting.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I feel bad sometimes for the McDonald's workers with that stuff because I'm sure there's like crazy collectors who go like nutty, like they may not be the nicest people sometimes or whatever.
Right,
but we have signs on all of ours. I see because I go to McDonald's for breakfast sometimes, and they have the limited to 10 Happy Meals. I'm like, well, first of all, who's buying 10 Happy Meals? But
someone with a large family.
But geez. Anyway. All right. Well, when you go to Disneyland on the first day of a visit, which way do you go? Do you go left towards Adventureland? Do you go through to Fantasyland? Do you go right towards Tomorrowland? And we've added, because somebody brought it up, and apparently it's not controversial, but it's something that people also have, is which train tunnel do you go in usually?
Right. That's actually what I thought the question was going to be.
Oh, well, there you go.
Which way do you enter?
Yeah.
I've always gone, for some reason, just the way I think you would think. I enter to the right and I exit to the left, or to the right again when you're coming out, but on the left-hand side coming in. And never really thought about it. But, with Disney and Disneyland, everything is a thing. Yeah, I've noticed that. But, I'm not against it. I will go, if the group is going the other way, I just follow the group. But now, when I go through the gate on the other side, I tend, depends on who I'm with and what the agenda is for the day. I go so much that I rarely have an agenda. So if I'm by myself, I'll check out the castle. I'll just, kind of slowly go around that way. But then it's off to see whatever's new or get in line for something that's, that you're there to buy. When people come from out of town, it tends to be a mad rush to Star Wars or something like that, or Space Mountain even. So, yeah, it just depends. I don't think I have a religious, route I take, but yeah.
Jerrod's smart. He just hangs back and goes, where's the crowd going? Okay, going the other way.
You have the best route. We talk about it all the time about how we like to let the Disney winds take us where they will and not have such a hard... So many people, I think, now, plan their vacations, to the minute. Some people do, and it's kind of like... You're not going to enjoy your time if you have it so structured and you're like, we're already 5 minutes behind schedule. It's like you get that in your day-to-day work. Just chill.
I'm fortunate that I live about 15 minutes away, so I can go quite a bit. But I can see if this is your one trip of the year or, that you have to do it. I was just in Tokyo and went to the parks there. And so that's where I feel it, that panic of we've got to get on everything. Don't waste any time. Especially getting through that gate in the morning, you just mad dash to something because that's going to save you 3 hours. So I get that if that's your, your big visit for the year. But for me, no rush.
Yeah. Makes sense. All right. So that kind of leads us into our next parks related question. What is your favorite attraction? And even though it's a Disneyland podcast, you can use any attraction from any Disney park because maybe one at Tokyo is now top of the list.
Oh, wow. That really opens it up. I think that makes it harder, actually. Yeah. So because I went to Tokyo, it'd probably be the Beauty and the Beast ride, which... We did all the rides over there in the new Fantasy Springs and everything. And I think technically the Frozen ride is probably the most impressive of the dark rides that I've seen. But I am not as emotionally attached to those films as I am Beauty and the Beast. So Beauty and the Beast is my favorite animated film. So yeah, that one I went on over and over again. And just the way they do some of the transitions and already some of it is outdated. They are still using like the glow effect of the face as opposed to just a pure animatronic. But still, it's my favorite. The queue is beautiful. The scenes are, are just perfect. And of course, there would be some things I'd change. But I think from an emotional response, it would be Beauty and the Beast ride. But other than that, It's a Small World is kind of my favorite ride of all time. And I would say specifically Disneyland's.
Yeah. That was going to be my follow-up.
Yeah.
My follow-up to that is, what do you think of the changes coming to the Disneyland version with Miguel and Dante coming and adding the new verse that was written by the Shaw brothers? Yeah.
I'm fine with it. I know people can be purists, especially about something like that from anything from like the Walt era. But I think for that ride to stick around as long as it has, and for the type of ride that it is, I'm kind of surprised that it has stayed around as long as it has. So if anything that keeps it sort of updated and interesting and they can have fun with it, I'm all for that. They just did the Groot overlay and the Marvel overlay in Japan. And yeah, it was cute. I don't mind, everyone's been on that ride so much. I don't mind when they kind of change it up, or, Christmas time is my favorite time for that ride. When they do that, I'd say that's probably the best version of it. But yeah, when they added the characters, I knew it was a big deal too. So yeah, I'm fine with them updating it just to keep it interesting, and keep people going on it. So that I think it's the only kind of ride of its type that has stuck around as long as it has, that it hasn't, we're going to tear it down and build something else. So as long as they keep it, I'm happy with any of the changes.
Well, and I think there's such a respect from the Imagineering team, because every time they do make changes, they make them in a way that you almost don't really notice.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't know that Disney characters weren't always there, would you have noticed,
Yeah, exactly. I'll ask people that or point it out to them that are sort of like, the people who aren't crazy park fans. And, I don't think they think twice about it. They have but Disney fans are very passionate about that stuff, which is great. It makes Disney fans the best fans in the world, but it can be, very passionate about every little detail. Yeah.
That reminds me, we had a VIP tour guide, Philander, on.
Oh, he's great.
A bunch of episodes ago. And one of the things that he said that I thought was amazing was we talked about Tomorrowland. And he's like, the casual guest thinks Tomorrowland's great. Like, it's just the rabid, I will count myself as one of those people.
Sure, yeah.
That thinks that it could be better. I think we see part of one of the problems with Disneyland and the fan base, not problems, but one of the problems for Disney when they're trying to do stuff is, especially with Tomorrowland, is we saw what it was at one time, that 1967 redo. It was so great. And now what we have now is pales in comparison. So it's it could be great. It just
absolutely
isn't. So
yeah.
And most people they just go and they're just like, oh, it's fine.
I think most people are very ride based, right? Yes. So it's like they like Space Mountain, so they like Tomorrowland, or they like Star Tours, so they like that. Whereas the Disney fans have a bigger picture aesthetic and how it looks, and if they change the paint color of something, how that changes the whole thing and storyline and all that kind of stuff. That the general audience doesn't notice or doesn't care. It doesn't matter to them. But yeah, that's the fun of it. That's the fun of going to the park so much, is knowing that history and feeling a part of that and having an opinion on it. What I don't like, though, is anyone that's being sort of dismissive about changes, or I've been on a few podcasts now where we talk sort of critically about aspects of the park, and then got to talk to the Imagineer who worked on it, and I felt really bad for just being so that doesn't look great, or they could have tried harder. So I'm always careful with anything now. Gosh, a lot of people worked on that. And I hate to just take it down in 5 seconds and be like, So, it's something I always am aware of. But it's great to have. It's fun to have those opinions.
You're right. It's easy to be on our side and kind of just be like, what they should have done.
Yeah.
But, you forget about all of the other stuff. That's what I kind of love about Disney Plus, is that we're getting more of a peek behind the curtain, and that we've got a couple of things even on YouTube that they're putting out to kind of also give you more of a peek behind the curtain to kind of see that. So then you get it, you feel it more. There's been events that we've been to and talked to Imagineers, and I just remember this last Disneyana we were at. We were chatting. It was actually with Kim Irvine's daughter, and she was talking about outfitting Arendelle and going shopping to get all the little. I'm like, I never
Yeah.
Never do you think about that when you are in these worlds. You're so immersed, you forget, wait a minute, somebody had to like pick that thing on that shelf that's just above where the merchandise is. That was intentional. So it's really amazing when you kind of peel back.
So much goes into these. I mean, money and stuff, and they're done by committee, and so many people have to approve it. You can't really, there is some safety in that you're not picking out one person. You're picking out a collective decision. But yeah, it's a lot of hard work, and these are very passionate people who really excel in these jobs and don't necessarily make a lot of money doing it. They just love what they do. So I try to be respectful of that, but I know I'm biased and it tends to only be with Disney stuff. And then, Knott's Berry Farm or Universal Studios will be like, they could have done better than that.
Right. But, I think you from your profession and us from doing the podcast, I think that we're a little more sensitive to that stuff because we create things. And so when you create something and you put a lot of yourself into something, when someone criticizes it, it kind of hurts in a weird kind of way.
Yeah.
That I think people just don't think about because it's like all these Imagineers, I just finished today, actually. For our book club, we're reading The Dream Chasing by Bob Weiss. And I just finished it today. And just hearing the stories of all the effort and work and everything that was put into all these different projects and even some of the projects that didn't go anywhere and stuff, it just like makes me think of like, everybody's just trying their best with what they have. And, it's easy to be judgmental when you don't have skin in the game.
Right.
So people just should remember that. But
it's Disney too, so I know that the same people that are critical of these things or whatever, they will still go, they will still buy it, and they will still write it over and over again. It's not like the attendance is dropping because we changed the color of a garbage can in Tomorrowland. So it's fine. It's part of I get that it's part of the sort of culture of the super fandom around the parks. It's much better than people not caring. So it's just the flip of the coin there.
Comes from love. True. I think it's really just people have, unlike a lot of other brands, I think people feel a sense of like personal connection and ownership over the brand, and it's really important to them. So when something happens, so kind of like we were saying, like when you put something into it, they feel that they've invested something, part of themselves into it. So when Disney does something, then it's kind of like, I can't believe they've done this to my favorite place. Anyway, we should talk about you, and because we could talk about fans and Disneyland forever.
Sure, yeah.
So, Jerrod, you said that your love for, Disney, the company and the brand kind of started with animation. So did you ever consider going into animation, or did it just kind of spark your love for art?
No, when I went to school initially, when I went to college right after that, which was Mermaid came out in the end of 89, and then I was in college freshman year for, in 90.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I went to school for animation because I thought that's what I wanted to do. But once I started actually doing it, I realized I hate it. I hate actually doing animation. I'm a fan of it, but it's so much work. And back then it wasn't digital. It was still paper and pencil and a very expensive major. And so I just went into the illustration program, but still had years of animation training. So I got all the training. I just didn't pursue it in my career.
Well,
so great respect for animators. It's especially 2D stuff. It's very tedious stuff.
It's got a certain different kind of magical quality to it. Not saying that the new stuff isn't magical, but being an adult now and watching and knowing that these are all somebody physically did all, it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I look especially the old stuff when animation was still early on, and just you look at Fantasia being like the second, or third film out of the gate for Disney, and what they were able to accomplish with that, and how creative they were with the effects and stuff, and just by hand, cell by cell, and so many elements. It's an art form that is no longer there because of 3D animation or digital animation. So I hope they maintain it. I hope they go back to it. It's sort of like vinyl, just like, every now and then revisit it and kind of keep that spirit alive, or do it with the shorts or something like that. But it would be a shame to see that not be a part of Disney.
So going back even further, when did you realize that art was kind of a thing for you?
I've always drawn, but I think most kids draw when they're little. It's just kind of who sticks with it or who, but it was always character-based stuff too. So when I was young, I would always be drawing other characters, not so much creating my own stuff, but I'd go through these phases. So it'd be like the Muppets, I'd be just obsessed with the Muppets and drawing the Muppets. And then it was Garfield for a while where that's all I wanted to do. So it always was based around some kind of obsession or something as a kid. But yeah, and I just kept up with it, and then you become like the guy that draws. So you get asked to do all these things, and you kind of like that attention when you're young, and until you go to art school, and then you're with all of those kids that were the kids who draw, and you see where you stand. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You're like,
but yeah,
I thought I was really good, and now I don't feel very good.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's where it started for me, though. It just came from that natural, like everybody likes to draw. Yeah.
So you've got a very unique, very fun, playful, cute style. How did that kind of come about? Have you always kind of had that style, or did that kind of grow as you were growing in your career?
I think both. So, I was in college in the 90s, and it was a very dark time for illustration. So everything was very edgy and dark and kind of scary and stuff like that. So that's what they were kind of promoting us to do in school. So my cute stuff would get like, it's okay, but it's, you should really be doing this. So I didn't really lean into it in school. It wasn't until later, and working for Disney primarily, that I got to sort of do that style and explore that style. But it's kind of based on the things I like. I love that stuff. I love cute stuff. I love, the Japanese kawaii aesthetic and like Hello Kitty growing up, and strawberry shortcake, and just have always been drawn to cute stuff. And so it just sort of naturally lent its way to that, and then just developing that over the years and kind of refining it and stuff. But yeah, it came out of a love for it.
Tag it has one of your websites up and going through some of, kind of going through it. You do such fun and unique stuff because you take what could be scary characters and like and just really soften them. You take goofy characters and like kind of ridiculous characters and make them somehow more so.
I love this. So this is on, we'll put the link in the show notes. This is on your Dribble account.
Oh, okay.
And is it Uncle Ugo? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is great. I always forget about him from Luca, and I'm like, oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's always more fun when you have some contrast. So, if you gotta take something and make it cute, it's more fun if the base art isn't cute, right? So it's fun to do like a horror film or something like that, and try to make that cute, as opposed to trying to make Pikachu cuter, right? He's a cute character. There's not much you can do with that, but yeah, so it's always fun when there's that contrast.
So in your career, obviously you haven't been doing stuff for Disney, right away, because maybe you'd be the luckiest person in the world. But how did that kind of, how did your career kind of take shape and transform, and how did you be able to take kind of your love for the company and then actually make it into, a job that you have a great relationship with them now?
All social media, it's all thanks to social media. So I would have a day job where I was like an art director at a software company and just kind of did that at 9 to 5. But then because of Instagram and all that, you could do your own personal work and post it. And you didn't have to send it off to someone or, physically bring a portfolio into an office. You can just post it. And very early on, I would say I got lucky. And I did some Toy Story art, because I think this was around when Toy Story 3 was coming out. And Lee Unkrich, the director, saw it and reached out and said, hey, we'd like to use this on t-shirts at the store. Would that be okay? And that just kicked it off. And it was that simple. I thought it was a joke at first. I'm like, am I being scammed here? Or
You're like, okay, please, definitely. I'll give you more stuff to put on t-shirts.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, that direct. And that's why I tell all these young people that are coming up, I'm like, you have to post, and don't be a jerk online, because everybody sees it, and I just got very lucky. And even now with Disney, they still find their artists that way. They look online at portfolios and stuff. It's not a lot of like, oh, go to this website and submit your portfolio. There is some of that still, I think, mostly with animation, but with these other things, with these merchandise projects and stuff, they just find people who do something interesting or an appealing style or something that's really popular right now. So I have to credit social media for doing that, because I don't know otherwise how else I would have reached these people.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, because it's kind of obviously there's people that are doing this for the company, but what's the end? So that's pretty amazing that they found you.
yeah, definitely. I was lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So how did it grow from there? I mean, that's kind of like, oh, we want to put it on a T-shirt. So you're like, okay, and then how did that kind of snowball or?
It's like anything where it's like if you were starting out and somehow landed a job at Apple, as just a fresh graduate, well, that's amazing, right? And everyone's going to think, okay, well, if he worked for Apple, I'm sure he's good. So let's bring, it kind of vets you a little higher than you normally would. And that's exactly what happened. They see like, oh, they used him, so we'll use him. In a nutshell, that's kind of what happened. And so then it took a little while, but I did get reached out to by an art director from Disney who said, oh, we like what you did here. Can you try doing some concepts? That didn't go well initially because I didn't trust my own style. I was trying to anticipate what I thought Disney would want or what I should be doing. And the art director, who I still know to this day, was very kind and said like, well, this isn't kind of what we need right now, but keep it up and that kind of stuff. And then eventually Wonderground happened. And that was just sort of out of the blue. And that was when it was a brand new concept. So when they reached out, same kind of thing. I thought it was a joke or some kind of scam or something. Because, it didn't exist. So I had no idea what they were really asking for. And they really wanted something different for this gallery. They wanted it to look different than the on-model stuff that you see in the stores. So with the stuff that I did for there really took off, and that's really what sort of changed the trajectory of my career there. And so then once you're vetted by Disney, then you kind of can work in the other departments. And it helped that I had a specific style, so that if someone said, "Oh, you need the cute stuff, let's go to him," as opposed to saying like going to people who can do everything or a few things. So that really helped get the work that I wanted to do.
We need to take a moment to give a shout out to Wonderground. That is one of the best things of the Disneyland Resort. And I think so many people maybe don't even realize that it's there. We make a point every time we have to stop, and usually we don't leave empty handed, but it's just so great. And same thing with it's kind of gone out a little bit because Off the Pages got a lot of that, as well as same as the Disneyana shop inside of Disneyland. But Wonderground is just awesome.
As a concept, it was really great when it started. It's not so much that anymore.
No,
it feels a little more like a regular shop. But at the beginning, when they were really trying to, it was a different time just back then, which is it's over 10 years now. But that's back when they had D Street and they were really pushing sort of different styles, and Vinylmation was out. It was just a different stuff. They've gotten a little bit more conservative again, but hopefully they can swing back and do some interesting stuff again where they really push the styles and what you can do with it. But it was a good time.
The cool thing about your style, do you have a name for the type of style that you do, or is it just your style?
No, I think it's like the kawaii. Kawaii is the Japanese version of cute. So it's that kind of thing. Whatever you say, that Hello Kitty kind of stuff.
Sure.
And there's a whole world of that kind of, that look, which is huge in Japan. It's big here too, but not like it is in the Asian countries. So I think the kawaii style is the one that most people would associate with what I do.
So have you done a bunch of stuff for the Asian parks as well?
I did a lot for Shanghai Disney when they opened. And I regret not going to that opening. But when they first opened, they did a ton of stuff with my merch. Like whole stores were filled with just stuff that I did. And they just really used a lot. So it's primarily there. And that same art they've used on balloons that are available in the resort here. So it's just the little cute characters. That's basically the Shanghai art that they just used on balloons. But so mostly there. But otherwise, like with Japan, it's harder to get in Japan because there is so much of it, and so it's easier to do it here because it's still sort of novel here. Although everyone's doing it now. For Japan, it's hard to break through. I did work on like Tsum Tsums for Japan, did that for years. And did all the flat art for that. And that was exciting. But very different working for Disney Japan than Disney in the US here.
Yeah. So can we let's back up, because let's talk more about the fact that you got to be part of an opening of a brand new park. That's an accomplishment. I mean, first of all, parks don't open that often. I know we're talking about this as Epic Universe, a new theme park is opening soon. But in general, that doesn't, especially like a Disney park, that doesn't happen that often. So can you kind of tell us how that came to be and what the process was for that?
Yeah. With Disney, it's hard because, especially with freelancers, is you don't get a lot of information. You just get, what you need to know. I did know it was for the new park and everything, but I had no idea to what extent they'd be using it. So they just send me a list of things that they need. like do all these characters, maybe draw the attractions and things like that. So it's cool. You get to see things early, which is always fun. And like, oh, this is what their ride's going to look like.
Yeah.
But other than that, you have no idea what merchandise it's going to be on or how they're going to use it literally until you see it at the park or someone posts it. They don't. There are exceptions to this, but they don't tell you like it's going to be a mug and here's what it's going to look like.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's got to be
exciting.
Very surreal.
It is. It's always neat to see the stuff in the park and on the shelf and people wearing it or people, sometimes you catch a picture of someone just happens to be using your mug, like that's not the point of their post, but there it is. And that's always exciting when you see it like that. Or when you're in the store and they obviously don't know you're the artist and you're watching people pick things out or select things. That's a great feeling.
You get somebody that's like, I don't know what this is, and you're like, oh.
Well, let me tell you about it.
Yeah, exactly. I've had all of it. So yeah, but it's always exciting just to see that people are whether they're buying it or not, they're picking it up and looking at it and stuff.
Yeah. That's so wild that you just kind of put stuff together and knew that it was going to be used, didn't know how, why, where. Well, I mean, I guess you knew Shanghai, but not, in the context of, is this going to be on a balloon? Is this going to be, whatever? And then to kind of have that opening day and then,
Yeah, exactly. It was great. I mean, with Disney, any kind of new project, everything's so top secret and hush hush and can't say anything or, they're not leaking you information just to give it to you. Everything's kept very tight. So yeah, it was very exciting to see.
So when you work on a project, kind of what's your process for coming up with a new piece of art or a new design?
It sort of depends. When we do stuff for like Festival of the Arts for Florida, we have pretty much do what you want. They ask us to submit so many concepts of what you'd want to do for this thing. And so, we'll give them like whatever, 6 to 10 concepts and they whittle it down to 3 or 4 ideas that they like. So it's either something that they're going to promote that year or they want to make sure that we're all not doing the same character or film or something like that because there's so many of us. So you're forced to think of a lot of concepts there. So you kind of always have these ideas or, I'll write them down as they come to me, even though I don't have an assignment per se, but I'll be like, oh, I'll remember to do this as a concept. And then sometimes you just think of them when you're forced to make a list of concepts and stuff. So you're kind of always aware of that you'll have an assignment that you could use something for. So that's usually not a hard part. The rest of it is just doing sketches, submitting that, getting approvals. And then sometimes it becomes something different because of that process. Like, oh, you can't use this character or you can't use certain elements or something like that. But other than that, then you just kind of get to it. And then once you get your sketch approved, it's just like in my case, I work in Adobe Illustrator. So it's just the tedious work of finishing it all off into final art, which can take quite a while. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
How much so do you get to, is it very strict as far as maybe some of the stuff? Do they kind of just say, we need something Star Wars if it's a specific product, or do they go into like, we would like these specific characters or like this specific, how much freedom do you have when it comes to some of these projects?
So it really depends on the project. So Festival of the Arts is very artist based. So they want your vision on it and you come up with a great idea and then they'll kind of funnel it through to make sure you can do it. When it's a freelance job, like with consumer products or even parks merchandise, they're usually very specific. Like we're celebrating the anniversary of this attraction. So we want something like this or include these 3 things or things like that. So it tends to be more technical. It's not really like a feeling of like, well, we don't really like that character.
Sure.
Or there are rules for usage of certain characters about, especially when it's like Winnie the Pooh or Tarzan or things that are sort of based on other properties that aren't pure Disney. Just little things like that. That's mostly that. I don't get a lot of like fixes that say like, oh, change the concept. We don't like the concept. But like I said, most of the time it's dialed in so tight that this is for this anniversary and you need to use this logo and these characters and stuff like that. And then you can kind of come up with your own composition. And that just varies from team to team and project to project.
Yeah, sure.
And do they tell you, like for merchandise stuff, do they tell you like, this is going to be for a t-shirt or this is going to be for a mug or whatever?
So a lot of the Disney stuff, especially when it's freelance, it it all goes into a central style guide. So they'll make a book of like all these images. So these are the images we can use for the 60th or the 70th anniversary, and so we don't always necessarily know where it's going to go, but you just create this library of images and they'll be like, we'll use this one for the mug and this one for the shirt. And so you don't always know where it'll go. And they use a lot of vendors and stuff that can then go to that style guide and pick out and say, well, we're going to do whatever. Because when you see this anniversary stuff, it's in all the stores, right? It's not just the parks. And so different groups can use it. And so it's just that. You never really know, though. I mean, sometimes you do because of technical specs. You have to make it fit in a certain thing. And then they'll send you a template or something that you have to adhere to. But most of the time, it's like a general, you're just creating images and you don't know where it's going to go.
That's so wild. I can't, it's got to be such a cool feeling to spend all this time creating all these things and then walking into the parks and just seeing it, how they used it. You know, kind of how they, maybe you're designing something thinking, ooh, this would be a really great, I don't know, button-up design or something, and they go a completely different route and they use it for something else. You're like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Because your stuff, you've got they've put your stuff on everything. Because you've got pins, shirts. There's kitchenware collections. I mean, you never, sky's the limit what they could do with this stuff.
No, for sure. And I did some Baymax art for consumer products years ago when the film came out. And that stuff is still being used. Like Japan's using it. I just bought a lot of it because we don't use it here as much, but they're using a ton of it. So you just, you never know walking through the parks or even just seeing online where it's going to pop up or, years later, that stuff just lives forever. So so with freelance, especially, it's not like where you have a say in any of that, or they don't have to tell you where it's going to go. So it's always kind of a nice surprise to see it show up.
It's like Christmas every time.
Exactly.
Or like it's your birthday or something. Like some fun surprise every time.
What's the most interesting thing you've seen your artwork on?
So I'll do, like I said, same kind of thing. When I did the Alien remix stuff where it's those Toy Story aliens and they're in the different costumes, that stuff was crazy because it went everywhere. Not so much here, but in the Asian markets particularly. So it was on just about anything and everything you could imagine. And I can't remember anything strange, but I kept just finding stuff pop up where these things were on. So it was kids' clothes and luggage and bags and toys. And they had an edition that had the Swarovski crystals in it. And it would just pop up everywhere in any possible product you can think of. So that was a neat one because it was one line that just kept growing and growing, and it's still out there. But
it'd be kind of funny to try. I mean, it would get out of hand really quickly, I think. But it'd be kind of fun to work into your little freelance contract of whatever you put my art on, I just want one copy of it. And then all of a sudden you have an entire garage full of stuff and you're like, okay, you can stop now.
More than that, sure.
Well, that's what I mean, you can stop. It's filled up.
Some people do that. And it just depends on the situation. So if it's parks merchandise, usually that's pretty easy because that's pretty contained. When it goes wider for just consumer products, that's global. Yeah. And I think you can't sort of make that demand on these, if these companies overseas are making these things, Disney's just approving them, but not necessarily getting it themselves, so it's a little harder for that. But some people do put a clause in that says they need samples of everything. It's not uncommon. But like I said, I have so much of it and it's just in boxes now because there's only so much you can sort of have on display and stuff. But it's always exciting to see.
Yeah, and I get that too, because it is, even though it's Disney putting it on something, it is still your artwork and your name's still associated with it. So you want to make sure that it's, good or up to the right standards or whatever. Not that you have much to worry about with Disney, but
right.
When you kind of think back, I know this is not a nice question, but when you kind of think back, are there any collections or anything that kind of maybe were a little bit more meaningful or meant something more than just it being fulfilling a contract? Or I don't want to say your favorite because that's really mean. But anything that kind of had that you had any sort of special connection to.
That's a good question. So with my stuff, actually, like I mentioned before, for some reason, seeing my artwork on balloons sold in the park, I didn't get any extra money because of that. That wasn't what it was contracted for. But seeing it on something so just part of the park experience was great. You eventually get used to seeing it on merchandise and shirts and mugs and things like that. But just seeing it on a balloon where no one's going and saying, I got to get that Jerrod Maruyama balloon. Like, it's just, they see it and they like it. And now it's attached to a stroller. And that makes me happy every time I see it. So I like that. I love like something like that. That's like, so it's like if you design, say, the popcorn bucket or something like that, where it's just sort of built into the park experience as opposed to a very specific line of merchandise. Yeah, that for some reason is like I was on the for Shanghai. I think this is for Shanghai. It could have been Hong Kong, but I think it was Shanghai. I was on the park. My art was on the park map.
Oh.
Like that was the big thing, and I absolutely loved that. Didn't know that was coming, and to me, that just felt like, ooh, that's so cool to see it on there, and something that how many thousands of those do they print up just to put out there? So it tends to be things like that. That's a little bit harder to get.
Yeah.
Than say doing the merchandise. Yeah.
Have they used, because I feel like with Disney kind of redoing some of like their hotels and stuff like that, it feels like they're kind of bringing in artists to kind of do some of that stuff. Has any of your work been featured in that sense?
No, that's like, so Joey Chu, which I'm sure you guys, but he's done so much art for the hotels and any kind of mural thing. And that is so his, like my stuff tends to be a little smaller in scope. He's very good about doing these sort of murals and panoramics where you're bringing in all these different elements and stuff like that. I think my stuff works much better on a smaller scale. So not that I would ever say no to a project, but I don't think my art suits that kind of grand thing as well, unless I was working with somebody else to come up with that. But yeah, no, I haven't done any kind of large installations for the hotels, but yeah, I would love to do some small part of it. So like they always have like the amenity packs or something that are in that. Like I would love to do something like that, where it's this little thing that's cute and you kind of take with you. But again, I wouldn't say no if they wanted me to do a wall.
Yeah. I'm thinking it'd be cute if you had like a little, like, I don't know, looks like Jack and Gus are like the little mice from Cinderella, or like, I don't know, running across your floorboards in a little hole or something, like some fun little hidden Disney elements.
I would love that. And I think that suits my art much better, like a smaller scale or a little surprise kind
scavenger hunt. You love scavenger hunts. Could be like a cool little scavenger hunt around.
Yeah, and they do that at like Festival of the Arts, I think, every year. They kind of draw the characters on walls and things like that. So
yep, they do.
Fun stuff like that's great. Yeah.
Do you have a character or a movie maybe that you particularly like drawing for?
So I like drawing Mickey because it's so, everybody likes Mickey and you can do so much with it and really push the style, and people, it's 3 circles and people will recognize that as Mickey. And there's sort of an immediate emotional response to that, whether good or bad. Everyone has their sort of idea of Mickey and who that is. So it's always fun to work with that and to play with that. Like it's harder to do that with other characters because if you go too far, it doesn't look like them anymore and it's not recognizable. If Belle's not in one of 2 outfits, it's like you have to take a second look and be like, oh, I guess that's Belle, So Mickey, you can do so much with as long as you have those ears on top. It looks like Mickey, or it's, you recognize it as Mickey.
I was going to say, except Mickey Mouse, and I didn't. Because I was like, I'll bet he's going to say Mickey Mouse.
He just gave us a great wind-up, because another big thing that people may not know you're the artist behind is the hipster Mickey. And there was that year that they did a collection of very special ears. There was, I don't remember how many. It was a very small, limited set, though. Yeah. And they all featured different artists, and you had one of them. Yours was such a cool one because they made it like tactile almost, because it wasn't just a hat. It was a hat with glasses.
Exactly. And there was a lot of talk about that, like they with Disney stuff, things don't just sort of slide by. Like everyone weighs in on the philosophy of it, and is it unpleasant that we're wearing the head on the head, like that kind of stuff, like and the glasses were going to be sort of a fabric thing at first, and before they went to actual glasses, that were on there. And it went through a lot of stuff. So that was a neat process. I'm very fun. I've never thought I'd be able to do ears, and that was great. And that was such a big program, with like celebrity people doing it. They ordered way too many of my ears, which was nice, but like, they'd be like, oh yeah, Heidi Klum sold out in like, an hour. I'm like, she did like 300 of them.
Like, we're not comparing me to Heidi Klum, okay?
Exactly. But I was just happy to be a part of that project. And they got some great people.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was kind of wild because you're right. It was artists, and then it was also kind of just other people too. Yeah.
celebrities and
I will be. I'll tell you this year. The only ones that I remember were the ones that were more art based. I totally forgot that Heidi Klum was part of that too.
yeah, they were expensive. They were very high priced. I think it was around a D23. I think that we initially released them and stuff, but that was I think that went on for like a year. The program of different artist ears and things like that. Yeah, it was very exciting.
What was so weird to me about that whole line, I guess you could call it, was that it was kind of all over the place. Like some of them were really normal almost priced, and then some were like outrageously priced, and it was like if you wanted to kind of collect, because people like collecting, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to collect that whole kind of range of stuff, you're like, oh, cool. Like the hipster Mickey ones I just saw a minute ago were like $58 or whatever. I'm like, that's doable. I have the Walt ones that have like the Walt stuff, but then you get stuff like, wasn't there one that was like all
that was
diamondy? Was that one? I didn't know that was what the one her was. But anyway,
the Heidi Klum one. Yep.
It was just like, I feel like there should have been like a suggested retail price of $100 or less. Unless you wanted to make like some like designer ones that then could be like a different. I don't know. It just seems.
Yeah. Well,
weird.
I think that's what it was called. It was the Designer Ears program, and I think. Like anything in those galleries that you see, you have artwork that is very affordable, and then you have stuff that's very expensive. And I think, maybe because they all came out at the same time, or, large chunks of them, it felt more like, well, I can't get all of these, as opposed to if there was one every 3 months or something like that, it would feel a little more like this is just an ongoing thing, as opposed to got to get them all. But yeah, they were, and some of them were very hard to get too, because of the small things. And with Disney, anytime there's anything under 5,000, it's going to be a challenge to get. And this was I think they had them available on both coasts, and it was a big thing. But some were better than others, but it was great that they ventured out and try to do something kind of really different.
Agreed. Oh, yeah, look, Vera Wang.
Oh, yeah, Vera Wang
he's of course now looking through all of them.
right.
Because I was trying to remember, because this was back in this was in the before times.
The before times.
Just before, I think, right? Yeah.
Anyway.
Which would make sense, because there would have been a D23 in 19.
Yep, we went to that one. That was our first D23.
That was our first one.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're based in the Midwest, so we are kind of unique ones in the fact that we have this great love for Disneyland at a great distance away from Disneyland.
Well, it makes a little more sense for me because I grew up in Northern California, so it was like a 6.5, 7 hour drive. But Teresa's always lived in the Midwest, so I don't know what happened with her, because most of the people in the Midwest are like Disney World fans, right? Like,
right.
Not Teresa.
What part of Northern California are you from?
Santa Rosa.
Oh, okay. I'm from San Jose. My family's still in San Jose, so I'm back and forth to Northern California all the time. Yeah, that's where I grew up. So, yeah. What made you move to the Midwest?
Oh, geez. Well, I hope you don't have the same response that a lot of people living here do. To make a long story short, one of my friends' dads moved out here, and then she came to visit and decided she wanted to live out here, and then a mutual friend of ours and myself came to visit right about a time when my mom was losing her job and we weren't going to be able to afford our place in California anymore. And we got really lucky. The landlord here was like, her landlord was like, yeah, we'll rent to you, and we're sure you'll get a job and all of that stuff. And then her boss hired us and like all this stuff. And so it kind of just worked out. But I love it here. A lot of people here locally are like, why? Because everybody in the Midwest wants to move to California because it's like,
oh, really?
The cool place to be. And I just go like, I live there. There's a lot of people. There's kind of like an attitude about people there that I don't really like. I kind of like the slower pace here. We own a house here, so like there's no way I could have done that in California.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've got a really great job. Obviously I would have met Teresa to do the podcast and everything.
Sure.
So, there's a lot of things that worked out really well, but I will tell you though, so it's been almost 20 years since I moved from California.
Okay. Yeah.
And the last time that I drove through California, for the first time since I moved away, I kind of was starting to feel that kind of like nostalgia, like, oh, I kind of miss being here a little bit, but just up where I'm like from. I mean, we're in Southern California enough that it just feels like visiting Southern California like it did before. But
yeah, absolutely. No, it's California's very expensive, like ridiculously expensive. So I think if you have the opportunity to go somewhere else, I mean, I've lived here my whole life, so I'm just I'm acclimated to that sort of general price increase every year. But when you see what you can afford anywhere else but California. It's the most depressing like realization.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. We joke with our friends and stuff because we're like, when I talk to people, I'm like, yeah, we own a house. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house. We have a backyard and a side yard, and my side yard neighbor is not just an arm's length away like it was where I lived. And we bought it for, I think when we bought it, it was $175.
Yeah.
And that was in 2015. So, and I think now it's like 300 or something. Like it's gone up. But like in California, I'm like, this house would be like $700,000 or $800,000.
Exactly.
So,
you pay $1 million to knock it down and build the house you want.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, no, it's terrible here as far as that goes. But yeah, you can always visit. So,
but the reason people like California is like there's a lot of great stuff in California. The weather's really nice.
Yeah. Disneyland.
Yeah. Yep. We were just talking to our friends. I said, Southern California is such a cool place because there's so many things to do. You got things always happening at all the different theme parks. You can go to the beach. There's always some type of like event or something going on. And I'm like, man, you can like, you're never going to be bored in Southern California because there's always something that you could be doing or seeing or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. But the expense is considerable. It's not like it's just a little bit
and
more
the traffic.
Expensive. Yeah, exactly. It's all those kind of things. So it just depends on what you like, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. First year, real quick. First year I moved here, people were like, "Oh yeah, the traffic around where you live in our area is really bad, especially on Christmas because we live kind of near a mall." And I was like, "Okay." And it was like, oh, I have to wait 2 cycles to the stoplight instead of 1.
Yeah.
This is not traffic.
Right. Yeah. Or it's like from 5 to 5:20.
Yeah.
There, like there's traffic. Yeah. Nothing like California traffic. I mean, LA traffic is a whole different thing. But I mean, even in Northern California, like rush hour traffic was pretty nightmarish.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It could be. Yep.
Too funny. So, Jerrod, one question I do have for you too is I always associate your style obviously with the cute, but you also do these really fun, I don't know what to call them, like almost like clusters of characters where you kind of do like whether it's in a Mickey silhouette or whatever. Has that been something that you've always done, or is that something that you just kind of were playing around with one day and you're like,
It's definitely something I kind of developed since working for Disney, and mainly because I like to do characters. That's primarily what I like to do. Yeah. So it's less about creating a whole scene or recreating an environment or something like that. So it's how can I get as many characters into one scene as possible. So this collage approach, it works well for merchandise. It works well for just like an art piece like that. So, and I think it's cuter when you have a lot of them there, so it's like a lot of characters to see how this cute style is playing out as opposed to just 1 or 2 characters or from one scene, and it really ties you down. So to me, it just feels like, like for me, nothing is more emotional than when they do a montage of Disney animation.
Oh, sure.
Like if you just saw one clip from one movie, you'd be like, yep, great movie, love that movie. But whenever they do a montage or they set it to music, it's suddenly like emotional, and it's like, oh, how much I love Disney. And so I think that's kind of the inspiration for that, is that you get to see this sort of collective and get sort of an emotional impact of all these characters that you love, and not just one film. People are so passionate about these things. If they don't like that movie, they're on to the next thing. But if they get very excited, if they're like, oh, there's my character in there, so some get repeated a lot, like Stitch tends to be, across the board and everything. But it's nice to include other crazy, less seen characters too.
That's what I was just going to say. I think that's what I enjoy about them. It's kind of almost like, not like a Where's Waldo, but the longer you kind of sit there and enjoy it, the more you kind of pick up on things or go oh, wait, that's whatever like deep cut character that you don't hardly ever see. And so it's just fun because then it's a great conversation piece too then with friends, because then you can be like, okay, who can name all, who do you see, who do you pick out? And then even the kind of the negative space in between the characters, you then put all sorts of little like fun extra Disney touches, like
little icons, or
the Rose from Beauty and the Beast, or whatever kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I think that's how I feel about it. Like there's so much of the stuff you want to celebrate, and and it's harder to say you can do like one character from say Treasure Planet, and that's easier to do than saying I'm going to do a whole Treasure Planet piece, which might not be as popular, but you can include it, one of the characters at least in the scene and stuff, and still acknowledge those films without having the whole piece be that way. So yeah, it's a cheat to just do as many characters as I can.
You're like, I'm gonna just throw them all in here. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Tag's now looking at your Tag is very visual, so he's.
I am very visual.
Whenever we do interviews and stuff, he's usually pulling stuff up. Obviously, since you're an artist, there's constantly stuff to be looking at. But I mean, there's the ones that are kind of like maybe it's got a theme, but then there's other ones that are just kind of, just fun characters or whatever. Because he just found one. What was it? It was Nightmare Before Christmas in this in a coffin shape.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've been lucky to be able to work with all these characters, and something like Nightmare Before Christmas, I would hate to just do one or two characters, right? You want to do all the characters for Nightmare Before Christmas. So yeah, that collage approach is a great way to incorporate everyone from the film.
If you were to estimate, because I'm sure you don't know the exact number, but how many different artworks, because you don't, products, that'd be millions, but how many different artworks do you think you have done for Disney over the years?
Oh, gosh.
Literally, as he's scrolling through this, I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that. Oh yeah, like your stuff is everywhere, which is great, but like it's just wild to think, how much time and thought and energy and effort went into all of these different things, and it just feels like it just keeps going. So
yes,
if you were to kind of estimate.
So like Wonderground is like its own thing, and so that's probably a little that's been around for just over 10 years now. It was 2012 that we started that. So, I mean, it's probably around like, I don't know, maybe 50 pieces that I've done for them in that time, maybe more than that, maybe a little less. And that doesn't count all the other stuff that I've done for parks or the other divisions and stuff. So when you include, so I do a lot of stuff for Disney Baby, for example, and we've done like over 100 books with Disney Baby alone. And that's a lot of reuse of art and stuff like that. But still, that represents a huge chunk of art and work and stuff. So harder to kind of calculate that with the other stuff. But with Wonderground, I mean, if you guess maybe like 4 or 5 pieces a year was what we were doing at the beginning. It's much less now, but we do like 3 or 4 every year for Festival of the Arts. And sometimes it would double up on that with the other things. So yeah, probably around 50 or so. It feels like way more than that, but
well, and I guess it since you kind of, some of these are the, the collage type things, they could be like, you could do the collage, but then they take pieces out and then, here's a mystery pin set with these characters that we kind of utilized out of this one.
Exactly.
We had so much fun talking with Jerrod that we will continue our conversation next week. Well, you have heard us talk about our great experiences staying at the Howard Johnson Anaheim. Well, we have partnered with them to offer some cool discounts right now until the end of this month. You can stay 3 nights and get 25% off of your stay by using the link at dlweekly.net. And there is also a promo code in there as well. It's too long to read. Trust me. Just go to the website. It is posted there. You must book by May 31st to get this deal. And with all the 70th stuff coming up, save it 25%. That's a good deal.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Otherwise, if you're listening to this after that time frame, you can get 15% off your stay. Take advantage of that discount. Again, at our website, there's a Howard Johnson logo. Go ahead and click on that, and there is a promo code on the site to get that discount.
It's okay. I'll be the only weekly tier without an answer. Make sure you send your questions to Producer James or Producer Vern at trivia@dlweekly.net.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, where we have the answers to tonight's questions, and we're going to find out how Tag and Teresa did and find out how you did listening at home. Tag, Teresa?
Hopefully better than us.
I don't know how I'm feeling after that. I'm feeling a little confused since we went, from California to Florida and then back again.
Well, I will tell you, Florida is not your forte.
No, yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
That's why you are DL Weekly, not FL Weekly.
FL Weekly.
Florida
or WDW Weekly.
WDW Weekly.
Yep. Yep. So, well, let's find out. Your first listener submitted question from listener Daniel C.
I think I'm feeling good about this one.
Okay.
After sustaining an injury playing his favorite sport, Walt's doctor suggested he take up a hobby, which was the impetus for Walt's construction of a miniature railroad in his backyard. What was this sport? both of you immediately answering polo. The correct answer that I was looking for was polo.
Woo!
Well done on that one. Your second listener-submitted question from listener Michael N. According to the statue in front of the Radiator Springs Fire Department, what year was Radiator Springs founded, and who founded it? You both agreed that it was founded by Stanley, and after some discussion, you arrived on the same date of 1901. The correct answer that I was looking for was it was founded by Stanley, and he founded it in 1909.
Oh, so close.
Vern kept us on the seat of our...
Yeah, you did.
The edge of your
racer.
driver's seat.
Yes.
Yes. Your third regular round question from listener.
These out.
Do we get 3/4 of a point because we got 3 of the 4 numbers right?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
guy's like, sure.
I'll get right on that.
Checks in the mail.
Your third regular round question from listener #ResurrectTagsPeopleMover. On the Moana-inspired experience in world nature, Journey of Water, roughly how many flowers cover Te Fiti? And I told you that I would accept 2 different answers because it depends on which source you're looking at. You said 12,000 or 16,300.
Mm-hmm.
The correct answers that I would have accepted were 3,000 or 5,000.
Well, I like how we were too low and then we went way.
You started way too low, and then when you went too high, I said, well, okay, we'll just go with it.
Dang.
And your fourth and final regular round question from listener Rob S. How many animals are carved into the Tree of Life at Animal Kingdom? After some playing around with numbers again, was it the year? Was it 1400? Or is it 422? The correct answer that I was looking for, inspired by the mythological concept of the same name, the Tree of Life features 337 carvings of existing and extinct animal species on its trunk and surrounding roots.
Oh, I didn't know they were extinct, like that it was existing and extinct
What?
animals.
Well, because they were supposed to have the
dinosaurs,
Fantastic
and stuff,
Beasts. Well, not fantastic, but like whatever. You said that had to do. The number was significant. How?
It's inspired by a mythological concept of the same name.
Yes, there's a there's a mythological.
There's a 337.
No.
Just
Tree of Life
there's
is the concept.
A mythology that believes in the Tree of Life.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And your bonus question tonight from listener Donna S. Who developed the animatronic dog in the Carousel of Progress? Keyword there being who developed it, not necessarily coming up with the concept itself, but who actually brought it to being, put the animatronics inside it, etc. You said either Mark Davis or Bob Gurr. The correct answer that I was looking for was Bob Gurr.
Good job, Teresa.
Yay!
Good job, Teresa. I got to use that. What is it? There it is.
Self high five.
It's been a while since we've done that self high five.
I think it's ridiculous that we went and filmed ourselves doing these.
Do you know how many
things.
takes that took?
It did take a lot of takes.
Because you have one of you and me, which that one took forever. You, me, we all look stupid too. Anyway,
The one of you and me's good though, because we somehow got as in you, because you were holding the camera. The castle's nicely centered between the two of us.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, how did you do listening at home? How did Tag and Teresa do? Do you have that perfect question that you think is going to really stump them next time? Well, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, we're running a little short on questions, so if you've been holding off on sending one in, I'm pretty sure you will hear it on the air soon, and please feel free to send it now. If you'd like to send that in, do so at dlweekly.net/trivia.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
A special thank you to our editor, Sidel.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.